Hey everyone, welcome to another video, and today we are talking about the new Sony FX30. So far I've done some test footage with this camera and I'm just blown away by it. First with what it can do for the price it was. I mean, it was only like $1,700 or $1,800, somewhere around that range. So the only big thing that I noticed right away was the sensor size, which how small it is. So not a whole lot of lighting can get into this. So anyways, we are going to go through some of the buttons, my initial setup when I got it out of the box, the type of batteries, and the type of batteries is the NPFZ100. And I did hear a rumor that if you use off-brand batteries instead of the Sony batteries that it comes with, then it voids the warranty. I can't really confirm that, but I've used off-brand batteries like always. And when I purchased this, I actually got like 3 or 4 more off-brand batteries just because I film a lot of weddings and I need a lot of battery life. The camera feels really great. It feels has a little bit of weight to it, and it definitely does not feel cheap. Yeah, it has some of the imports on the sides, like microphone and headphones, the HDMI, and plugging in the camera to your laptop to dump the footage, and dual SD card slot. I did notice that with this, it takes the CF Express Type A, not Type B. It's Type A. And yeah, Type A is more expensive than Type B. So far I've seen that this camera can do a lot. I went out and did some test footage, just did some stock footage, some birds, and just the overall quality is like breathtaking, and how simple it was to use, and the autofocus and it has a touchscreen for track autofocus, which is a pretty big thing because with my A7R Mark II, sometimes when I'm filming, you know, the bride coming down the aisle, sometimes the autofocus focuses on somebody in the ceremony area, one of the guests, instead of the bride. So the autofocus shifts. But that way, with this camera, it's going to be able to, you know, stay on the bride and stay focused on her. So before we move on to the initial setup out of the box, I just want to show you guys something real quick. So I got these stickers, and I made this design and stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool. I saw it somewhere that somebody was doing it, but they didn't really have the design that I kind of envisioned. They just had a set template, or there was another company that kind of did the same thing, but they would make you like 20, 30 different copies of the same thing, but I only wanted like a couple, just to label, you know, my lenses and stuff. And I mean, you could see that this one's already starting to like rub off a little bit with the ink and stuff, but I thought it was pretty cool. If you guys like it and want some, just reach out to me. So let's go ahead and move on to the camera and talk about the ISO. And so let's go ahead and move on to the camera with the ISO and the setup that I did out of the box, some of the settings and stuff to look at, and you can change for your preference, and just what I use. Okay, so here's the camera, and the on switch is over here. So Here is the menu. So this is the record frame rate, and as you can see, it can do 120 frames per second. And what I have noticed is that it puts a huge crop on 120 frames per second. So we'll even go back down to 60, and you see, now it's back. Here in a little bit we can test the ISO. So this is the menu. This changed the shutter speed and the ISO and the picture profile. For the S-Log, it's picture profile 11, and right now I have it at, for the format, I have it as XAVC S4K, just because with this setting I noticed my computer doesn't really process the video very well. Like, it's too high of a quality for my computer to handle. And so I just dropped it down to that for now. I changed the bit record settings, 200, 150. I normally leave it at 200. So one thing for sure is that you want to go down to setup and setup options, band control. Make sure that's auto. And another thing is pixel mapping. So when you first click it, you're probably gonna get this. And all you got to do is put your lens cap on, and basically what it's going to do is the camera is going to read the picture and see what is black, and it is going to adjust to that. So that was one of the first things that I did. And then another thing, I did not know about this, but I saw it, is that go to the power setting option, and power save start time is off and auto power off temp is high. And here you can set up your custom dials. This is for pictures and this is for video. And setting your area and date and time, I always like to, that's one of the first things that I do. Is it's easier to know when the video was taken during the day of like a wedding shoot or something. So also one of the first things that this camera did when I first turned it on, it actually had me connect Bluetooth to my phone. I went ahead and did it. I haven't really had a chance to play around with it yet, but I plan to in the near future, and if it's interesting, I'll show you guys what it does. Alright, and so now we're in the focus settings. So we got continuous focus, obviously. I keep the transition speed to about 5, which is just over, halfway in between too slow or too quick. There's autofocus assist, which I don't really need. You can change the focus area. You can set it up for face and eye, Now this you can change, if you are, wanting to shoot birds like I was the other day, I left it on birds. Or if there's any other animal, you can use animal, of course. But I went ahead and switched it back to human, just to be safe whenever I go and film a wedding and I accidentally forget and a dog runs in the background and is pooping in the background. That actually happened a few weeks ago. So peaking display is, I leave it at medium, and it's always set at white. I usually prefer red just because it sticks out more, but I'm not too concerned about it because all my lenses are now autofocus except for my Rokinon 50 Prime is a manual. Zebra display, that's another thing that I like to set up. For some reason it was switched off because I switched settings earlier, and you can change. I normally leave it to 100 plus because I like to see what is actually peaking. And another thing that I changed is the shutter and silent. I like to have it on because it doesn't make any noise when it records. It's clearly recording because there's a red frame, there's a red light up here, there's also a red light up here, and on the record button it's very obvious that it's recording. Now if I were to change it, I mix that sound, and there it is again, which honestly I find it a little annoying. And when you're filming weddings, you want to be as discreet as possible and try not to make too many loud, obnoxious noises. That would be one thing. Audio, so audio recording, here's the settings for that. You can change it, fairly straightforward. The flip screen, which is really nice, and it actually comes out. So yeah, that's one thing that I like that Sony did with their cameras finally, where the screen can actually flip out. But anyways, I can show you guys more footage along the way. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys at the next video.